Hey, what's up? My name's Drew, and I make videos about being stationed in Japan. I'm a naval officer. I got my son Kyle here with me today. Say hello, Kyle. Yeah, and this one is going to be about relationships in Japan. So the last one, or with Japanese people. The last one was about dating. This is about more long-term stuff. And I hate putting all these disclaimers in front of my videos, but once again, this is just my experience, and it is based on me and my wife. It's hard to tell how much is American and Japanese thing versus just me and my wife as unique individuals. But anyways, let's get into it. Japanese culture is really into the more traditional style of families, like the man is the head of the house, the woman is kind of the housekeeper and stuff like that. Which I know that's making like a comeback in the U.S. in terms of like it's what a bunch of loser dudes say they want, and then a lot of hot women just making videos telling them, those loser dudes, what to hear. Yeah, if you ever want to grift people, go after morons. It's a lot easier. So, but they really truly believe that in Japan. And so that's one of the things you have to be prepared for, is you're going to be expected to work. All right, that's the side of it none of those traditional people want to talk about, is, really, you got to be prepared to work and long hours, Luckily, I mean, in the military, we work long hours. Luckily, my wife, never questioned it whatsoever because, I've had girlfriends and my mom refuses to understand the concept of duty. My wife never questioned any of that kind of stuff because she's used to, that's what the type of hours they work in Japan anyways. And then my wife also really wanted to run the house. She'd do a lot of cooking, cleaning, stuff like that. Hello again, yeah. And it's to the point that I didn't think it was real. Right? I literally thought I was being honey trapped, and this was like too good of a relationship. And it took a really long time for me to understand that's just like what she wanted to do. And I explained to her, she didn't have to do all that stuff. I'd help out, and she refused to listen. So, it does seem like it's a weird thing to complain about. I'm not really complaining, but it's just I wanted to help, So she's always amazed that I will do the dishes after she cleans or cooks, and I'll clean up, and that blows her mind that I'll help with that kind of stuff. So yeah, the bar is kind of low for you in that regard, in terms of what their expectations are. I'm not a very good cook. I'm an average grill dad basically, but I made her some hamburgers and French fries once when we were still dating, and this blew her mind that I could do that. And we've been together almost 2 years. A couple weeks ago, what did I do? Yeah, I made some chili, and she was surprised. I knew that you have to wash your hands after touching red meat. That's how little Japanese guys know how to cook, apparently. So, there's that. And then the second part is communication. I'm worried this is going to be just me ranting about my marriage for a little bit, but the way the Japanese people communicate is absolutely exhausting. All right, because there's this thing called hone tatsumai. So hone is your true feelings, and then tatsumai is what you say, the polite way of saying things. So easiest way to imagine it, imagine you have a crush on someone, you're too scared to admit it, and what you'd say to them versus what you'd say if you were down 9 beers deep. All right, that's hone tatsumai. Yeah, that's the easiest way to describe it. But they do this all the time. And this is where if I ever get divorced, it's because I'm sick of this shit. For one example, I would ask her, do you want to go to this restaurant? And in hone tatsumai, that means I want to go to this restaurant, and I'm kind of just expecting you to say yes, and I can pretend it wasn't my idea. But I was literally just asking if she wanted to go, right? So a lot of this kind of shit is what's happening. And she would always say, just because she kind of expected me to be the head of the household and stuff, she would just kind of say what she thought she wanted me to hear. That was her tatsumai, and she was not telling me her true feelings. And so I just did what she told me she wanted to do. And that was, of course, an amateur mistake. It sounds great. It sounds like, some sitcom guys oh, your wife's fucking awesome, bro. But if you want your wife to actually be happy, you have to do what they truly want and not just what they're telling you to want. So it's constantly trying to figure out what they're trying to say, Craziest example of this is there's this Japanese American meetup group. I was taking her there because she could talk to Japanese people, but it was mostly just Americans who wanted to practice Japanese. So she liked the people there, but she didn't really enjoy the meetup groups because she wasn't getting able to like truly hang out with Japanese people. So I kept asking her every Saturday, because the meetup was Sunday. I was like, do you want to go to the meetup? And she would say yes, because she thought I was saying I wanted to go to the meetup. And she really didn't want to go, but she was just saying yes because she thought she was supposed to. Yeah, we went to this place for like 4 months every week until I figured out that she didn't actually want to go. And like shit like that happens all the time. It's ridiculous. Because one of the downsides of this, because you know, she grew up in a household with 2 brothers, and you kind of just do what like the men want to do apparently in Japan, is she's not really good at making decisions or coming up with like her own plans. That's one of the downsides of all this, is I have to kind of coax her into stuff, and then I have to always figure out what she's trying to tell me she actually wants. And she's trying to do this like true feelings, hidden feelings thing in a second language that she like barely even speaks. So this gets really, really complicated. Then she's also only doing this like 80% of the time. I'd say like 20% of the time she's telling me exactly what she wants, but I have no idea, and I think she's doing this, you know, secret feelings thing. So it's really, really complicated, and I have no idea what the hell is going on a lot of the time. And a big thing I wanted to talk to her about was, you know, I can't do that with Kyle. That's my son's name. Because, you know, we have to truly understand what we're trying to do with him and his care and how we're going to raise him as a child and stuff like that. And all this ambiguity about confusion, it's like super complicated. All right, so those are a couple things about relationships. Let's see, I talked about work, I talked about that. If you're gonna propose, if you're a man and you're gonna propose to a Japanese woman, you have to ask the dad for permission. All right, you gotta look up that. You may have to learn how to say that in Japanese. Musume-san te kukon sasette kudasai. Please allow me to marry your daughter. All right, I did that. Her dad mimed, don't hit her, and then he said yes. It was weird. And then a lot of this is coming from the perspective of a man and American man, Japanese woman. I never really saw any women dating Japanese men in Japan, but once I've been back in Atlanta, I gone to some Japanese groups, I see quite a few of those types of relationships. So, you know, it's not impossible or anything like that. I just see less of that in Japan. I don't really know why. Maybe it's because of these cultural aspects and stuff. Yeah, so yeah, I think that's mainly the things you need to know about relationships, because, you know, everything can be very much hit or miss depending on who you're dating with. Those are the 2 things I want to talk about. Probably going to talk about another one right after this. I'm trying to get my step count in today, so maybe I'll do 2 videos in one day. Bye. Hey everyone, I forgot to add this one in, so I'm going to edit it in later. Another thing about relationships is finances, all right? So in Japanese society, Kyle really wants to see the camera. In Japanese society, the woman controls the wife controls the bank accounts and the money, and usually gives the man an allowance. All right, and the husband kind of lives off of that, and the woman just does whatever. All right, that she may want to do that. I'm assuming this is a man marrying a woman. Probably shouldn't assume that. All right, you maybe have to be prepared for that kind of thing. In America, my wife doesn't really understand the banking system or credit or anything like that. So I'm the one who does most of the finances, and she's always like concerned about spending money. And she'll ask me for permission to buy like, you know, a $3 cup of coffee at the grocery store or some shit like that. And it's like constantly I'm telling her, you know, our money, we have enough. You know, I'm a naval officer making O3 pay. I'm doing fine. So, you know, trying to consider enough. I had to like beg her to go to the dentist because the dentist isn't completely covered under insurance, and she didn't want to spend money. Right, like kind of ridiculous shit like that. One of my main concerns is she's not going to want to deal with any kind of health care that our insurance does not cover for our son. So that's the one thing. I don't know if this is just a her thing. She didn't really have the best family life growing up. But when we go back to Japan, she may want to take over the bank accounts and things like that. which is something I'm not prepared to do, just based on the way she's always talking about money. And she never wanted to spend money whatsoever. Like, I convinced her, I showed her her accounts, I showed her, hey, she's a joint credit card holder on my account. She can use my credit cards anytime she wants. She refused to do any of that. And then so I gave her an allowance, basically just recurring deposit into a bank account for her. This is all her idea. I didn't want to do this because I wanted her to kind of be used to spending our money. But now that she considers that her money, weirdly, now that she has access to a lot less, in her mind, she still has access to all my stuff. Now that she has a fixed income, she's willing to spend money again. Super weird. Like I said, I don't know if this is just a her thing or a just Japanese women in general thing. All right.